My name is Dustin Jablonski. I'm pursuing a degree in computer engineering, and I have been attending Clackamas Community College, but I'm transferring to Portland State University this quarter.
My name is Ethan Andrews. I am pursuing a Bachelor's of Mechanical Engineering at Portland State University starting this fall.
Hello, my name is Michael Weston. Pursuing a degree in computer engineering, and I am just transferring to Portland State University from Clackamas Community College.
Through the program, I've learned I can work remotely, but it's a lot better when I can work with other people. So it's been an interesting experience this year, to say the least. But I've learned a lot about how I work through design problems and how I address them as they come up.
Probably the biggest thing is, I've tinkered for a long time, but actually working on a project as part of a team, I definitely prefer that to working solo.
I would have to thank my computer science teacher, Jen Miller, for showing me or introducing me to programming. That has been a large foundation for how I've approached things, how I've organized my code. Really, the teachers at Clackamas, the enthusiasm showed for Invent Oregon, I would say is the most helpful thing.
A whole bunch of things. So a lot of the electronics knowledge we applied, we actually learned at CCC. The initial test for this, we actually conducted in the electronics lab using their power supply to test out the LEDs we're using. Our first actual contact to see if this would be a viable idea was actually the theater department at CCC as well.
One of the biggest challenges I think we faced this year was with the current situation, everything has been closed. And so it was a little bit trickier to get things started on rapid prototyping, and the inaccessibility of facilities to do that definitely impacted our ability to prototype in a quick manner. How long things have been and how busy summer has gotten once work has resumed for a couple of us. The amount of work outside of this competition was far beyond what I think a couple of us anticipated.
It's much easier to hash things out in person, being socially distanced and the pandemic, which is probably something everyone will say. But honestly, I'm not sure any of us have worked in a small team on a project like this. So kind of getting organized and getting the ball rolling and the momentum going on the project was probably the hardest part.
To add on to that, when we were first starting, since we had to do the whole social distancing thing, we've essentially constructed a distributed makerspace between the three of us, and getting that all up and running so we could actually start prototyping this stuff was definitely a struggle.
My 3D modeling skills were definitely refined during this competition. The ones that I had picked up from classes were improved upon, and I learned quite a bit more about how to do 3D printing and how to change my models around in order to meet specs and calibrations specific to the printers.
I would actually ask, what new skills have I not learned? Because I feel like everything that I've had to learn for this, like programming the software, has been stuff that I'm very unfamiliar with. It's all been very practical skills though, so I'm very thankful for that. I've had to learn database, I've had to learn applications, I've had to learn user interface, I've had to learn about web pages and web servers, almost the full stack of developing something like this. And although it's been kind of light learning in each area to get where we need to go, it's been extremely useful.
Probably the biggest one that I had to spend a fair bit of time working on was prototyping PCBs using a small scale CNC machine. It's far less precise than the stuff I'm used to. But the ability to just turn around, poke a button, and walk back in 5 minutes and have a prototype of a circuit board you've been working on is invaluable for this sort of thing. So Broadway to Go is a lightweight, wireless, professional lighting system. The idea behind it is for lighting professional venues that are smaller scale.
It's a simplification of a lighting system in order to make it more accessible and easier to use for the common man.
To having to lug around tons of lighting equipment, you can have several cheaper and very effective light housings that can be controlled easily from a laptop or phone.
Bring down the cost gap that exists between a good light and an okay light for smaller venues and Shakespeare in the Park style settings.
Broadway to Go leverages a couple of advancements, primarily in Internet of Things devices, as well as high-intensity LEDs, which have been coming on the market recently. Essentially what it does is you have a distributed number of lights, each that has a little microcontroller on it that is Wi-Fi enabled. And then you have a central device that communicates to those and can update those lights without having to have complex wiring or power systems like you'd usually have in a professional lighting system.
The lighting system works by creating smaller lights that are lighter weight and easier to work with compared to traditional lighting systems. The software, a bit more accessible and easy to use compared to traditional lighting systems. It helps light designers and stage designers to be able to quickly move things around and set them up and change how the lights work or where they're at because of the lighter weight nature of the lights and the wireless nature of the system itself.
It reduces the area of entry for smaller groups to put on productions like this. And especially with all of the COVID concerns, it enables groups to hold outdoor events even at night, which would be like traditionally indoors. The inspiration for me was a number of years ago. I was working for a small black box theater that had to completely modify their whole building to accommodate a lighting setup that was designed for a full-size stage, because that was what was available to solve their problem. And it just struck me that there really should be sort of an intermediary there for the smaller venues. The technology has come along at this point that is actually a viable option.